Namaste ji, namaste. Welcome to Courtroom by TLOI and welcome to Law School by TLOI, wherein we'll be covering out mostly all subjects from your either 3-year LB or 5-year LB. A lot of that stuff has already been covered on the channel. However, I wish to restart this endeavor of mine, well, on the occasion of Guru Purnima today, 29th of July 26, and we are creating one giant playlist. So earlier when I used to teach back in 2019-20, that teaching style has evolved and upgraded a lot over the years as I have also grown as a person and a teacher. Therefore, I am redoing a lot of the stuff that I've once already completed on this channel. Now, since most law schools have started, well, this year, as in on this very day or yesterday perhaps, and a lot of you have entered the pathways of your respective law schools, I would want to start with what exactly are you about to experience for the next 3 to 5 years of your life. Ideally speaking, in a 3-year LB, that is 3 years. Now, the first books that you're going to meet, of course, these are just two examples. This is what we call as the Bare Act. Alright, so in our coaching programs, we usually issue them beforehand. But this is basically the law as it is. Right? This is the kitab that the judge has to refer to, the parliament has to refer to, the CJI has to refer to, everyone has to refer to, because it contains the law. Now, since you have signed up to study at a law school, we first and foremost need to understand what law really is. Now, what is it exactly? This primarily you are going to be studying in a subject known as jurisprudence. So, for example, is this cup half empty or half full? Well, the answer depends on someone. Of course, it's slightly lesser than half, but anyway, the answer depends on the person that you ask it. The question, or rather the person, is going to answer what is it. What color is it? Again, interpretations may vary. So, for example, somebody may just call it as brown, chocolate brown, coffee brown, dark brown, light brown. So, we are almost always fighting. So, there are certain scholars who will be fighting on what jurisprudence really is, or rather, under the subject of jurisprudence, they'll be telling you what law is. So somebody will be saying that it's a command, it needs to contain a punishment. Somebody may just say, no, it's a norm, it is something that is developed over a time, it originates from the word custom ya pratha, and then basically it follows down and evolves into what we call as law today. So a lot of people under jurisprudence, under the subject of jurisprudence, are going to be fighting over what law is, the term law is, right? Because we like to fight. We are human beings. And why do we fight so much? So have you ever seen a parking dispute, for example? Have you ever seen a parking dispute? Let us just say into infinity, because I can't draw 140 crore of these people. Have you ever seen a parking dispute? Why is there a parking dispute? क्योंकि ये जो लड़ाई है कि क्या तेरा है और क्या मेरा है, what is yours and what is mine, this starts from the time that you are in school and you have encountered a lot of law in your schooling years as well. So, for example, I'll come back to kya tera hai, kya mera hai in a bit. You went late to school. The first and foremost person that you are going to encounter is the guard. For example, your school timing was 7:30 a.m. and you showed up somehow at 8 a.m. The guard is going to prevent you. Now, the guard is just like the police, by the way. So, they are only there to enforce the rule. They don't care what the rule is, because that rule has been made by someone else. That is precisely the school authorities that are there. They have made the laws of your school. So that is the first time that you encounter, technically speaking, a force such as the police. The police, after following its due procedure, which we need to write down somewhere, else the police is just going to go berserk. Then it takes you to a court. The first court that you have ever met is your teacher. And आपने कहा क्या कहा था अपने teacher को जाके that my lord, it not exactly my lord, but you know, teacher, well, I got late and I missed my bus, etc. She is going to be asking for evidence from you. कि अच्छा दिखाओ कहाँ से? Let us say then she is not fully convinced and she decides against you and she says no, I'll issue an infraction against you, or whatever the punishment mechanism was there in your school, and I will not allow, let us say, to attend you for you to attend the first period. Then what happens? Let's say that you are dissatisfied with this decision. Well, you then proceed to the vice principal or the headmistress. So you now have met your first appellate authority. You are appealing the decision that has been issued by the teacher. If the teacher had said, okay, fine, I accept, you will never really appeal. Correct? So there are going to be two people that are fighting this case. Technically speaking, the bus driver will never ever show up in your classroom that, hey, I was on time. In real life, there will be, because there will be two parties. Correct? Then once you are in the headmistress ka room, and let us say the headmistress also decides against you, well, then you need to go to the Supreme Court of your country, or rather your school, that is the principal. She is the supreme authority. She is going to decide, correct? So therefore, now you are going to be presenting your case in front of the Supreme Court of the school, and hopefully you get a favorable decision. So you are almost always doing advocacy. Have you ever not heard your parents say this? Uski wakalat mat karo. If you have a sibling, let us say that you support them and there's a fight going on in the house, or there's a disagreement, and you support them, then uski wakalat tum uske wakeel ho. You are doing this all the time, and now you are going to be studying it in your law school. So the thing with us humans is that we are of different kinds. Just like, for example, different temperaments, I would say. Some are naturally very aggressive, kaf kaf thar wale, and some are naturally very polite, gentle. Some are very intellectual, some are the cool kids, the nerdy kids, the pretty ones. So we differ in our worldview. I'm sure you have at least had one fight over political opinions. So some of you may be with the CJP, some of you may against the protests and the CJP, etc. Some of you may get labeled as right-wing, some of you may get labeled as left-libs, some of you may change your political ideology and understanding as well as you keep on growing up and as you keep on evolving. That's the correct way, that's the correct thing to do, because, well, as more and more data approaches or is available to you and you keep on growing up as a person, you need to evolve and let go of the past. However, some of you, to fit in, also keep on jumping ship and changing your ideology, right? So all of us differ in the interpretation of what the good thing, the correct thing, the real thing really is. And to control all this chaos, because who decided that on a spot on the road कि ये किसका है? Who decides that? आप कहते नहीं ये तो मेरे घर के बाहर वाली जगह, तो यहाँ गाड़ी तो मेरी ही लगेगी. I mean, who decided that? क्योंकि फिर सामने वाला कह देता है, सामने वाला कई लोग कहते थे इसके कागज लेकर आओ इस जमीन का. If it is yours, I mean, it is open for everyone. If you park your car in front of a shop in a market, usually the shop owner objects if you are not their customer, that please kindly remove this. और हमारी यहाँ पे गाड़ी आने वाली है, ये है वो है. So to control all the chaos, we have law. To control society. So law is primarily law has n number of definitions. By the way, there are various kinds of laws that you're going to meet in law schools, as substantive laws, procedural laws, adjective laws, etc., etc. However, the primary thing with law is that it's a dispute resolution mechanism. So we'll come back to our human beings in just a bit. I need you to ask the question of why. Every time that you read a section, at least an important one, not the definition clauses, you must ask, why have we written this down. So for example, one of the first subjects that usually hits you in law school is the ICA, the Indian Contract Act. Now, why do we need an act to control contracts? Okay. Why do we need an act that tells us what a contract is? Why do we need to know it in the first place? I mean, मैंने कुछ बोला, तुमने accept कर लिया, let us say that I am delivering that, and well, there is no problem at all. Why do we need to enter into, why do we need this act in the first place? Because इंसानों की जुबान बहुत ही कच्ची है. We do not follow what our tongue usually says, है ना? जैसे वो कहते हैं जी, please do not write checks that your mouth can't cash. Correct? This is precisely why we need to write down कि तुम्हारे मेरे बीच में अगर कोई agreement हुआ, and if you do not basically follow that, what are going to be the consequences? So for example, the college that you have paid the fee into, and let's say the college shuts down tomorrow, what happens to that fee? It is written somewhere. You have signed n number of forms. It is written somewhere. If it's not written, the judge is going to use equity, net common sense, in which neither side's rights are basically violated. All right. So now contract के अंदर ये लिखने की जरूरत ही इसीलिए पड़ी है because first and foremost, अच्छा हमने लिखा क्या है? That what is a contract? लेकिन contract has a lot of elements. So it has consideration, it has proposal. I'm not going in any specific order. Of course, we start from proposal and then basically we get down. Then eventually there is an agreement / promise. If that is enforceable by court, that is called as a contract. So when you're studying the Contract Act, you are first and foremost understanding what a contract is. Then you are going into who all can enter into a contract. Why is all of this written is so that there is certainty, so that tomorrow, जैसे हम कहते थे ना, क्यों तेरा यहाँ नाम लिखा है, यही बोलते थे ना बचपन में. स्कूल के अंदर भी तेरा है मेरा है, टेबल के बीच में लाइन खींच देते थे. करेक्ट? that is the time that law starts to basically being born. मतलब वहीं से पनपा है. The seed is right there, and then who can enter? What if there was some pressure on you to enter into a contract? What if you were under some undue influence? What if you were under some fraud? What if somebody had just orally promised, your dad promised you an iPhone 18 Fold is going to come out, because I'm shooting this in 26, is going to buy it to you if you, well, secured admission in a law school. Correct? That is how this thing works precisely. Okay, what happens then? So all of that is written in this act. Alrighty. Now, if all of that is written, why did we need to write it? Because else we would fight over it. We are very, very litigious people. We are very, very, or rather, for a better term is, we fight a lot. We fight on the country scales. We develop borders. We also fight over waters. So we have the international maritime law. Then we need the armed forces to protect us from other human beings because they want our land and resources. So we have laws for those as well. So everywhere you look around, you're going to be interacting with law. Now, Contract Act के अंदर से अगर हम निकले, अगर let us say that there is some breach of contract. So you entered into a contract, you made it comply with the Indian Contract Act, the n number of conditions that are given there, and then let us say a breach happens. How do you approach a court? Well, under the CPC, the Civil Procedure Code. But why not? Now, this is not an act, this is a code. I'll leave you with a question: what is the difference between an act and a code? Right? Just look that up. Any which way. CPC. How will the court function? How do you approach the court? And why not CRPC? That is BNSS, Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, या Criminal Procedure Code. Why civil only? Well, because the contract is civil, correct? So how do we file a plaint? Plaint means a complaint का short form अगर हम कर देते right now for our understanding. So that's plaint. ये कैसे होगी? फिर सामने वाला कैसे जवाब देगा इसका? Via a WS, written statement. फिर क्या होगा? What will happen at the first hearing? What can the judge do? What can the judge not do? What can the courtroom do? What can the courtroom not do? So for example, let us say this case has already been litigated on once and you have approached the court again, you're going to get hit by a term called as res judicata because the court is not going to decide on it again because CPC prohibits them from doing so. So always remember this tagline whenever you are fighting in law, for majority of the law, not for all the law. Just ask, लिखा कहाँ है? For majority of the law, I'm not going into admin law, natural law, basically, you know, the facets, other facets of law, advanced practitioners of law will know what I'm talking about. However, for majority of the law, just ask लिखा कहाँ है? If the cop basically, the traffic cop says कि 10,000 का चालान है, you must check कि MV Act में है भी कि या ये पागल बना रहा है just to increase his bribe. Because the Motor Vehicle Act will then need to say it. Of course, you be careful with the traffic cops and अभी नया कानून का ज्ञान आया है and please maintain your tone with the cops as well. However, बस एक ही चीज पूछना, अच्छा लिखा कहाँ है कि इतने का चालान है ना? अगर हम ये पता कर सकते हैं कि लिखा कहाँ है और अगर लिखा हुआ तो वेल तो फिर तो मानना पड़ेगा ही. So law technically speaking is then, अच्छा CPC पे हम आ गए. खैर CPC के अंदर फिर पूरी चीज दे रखी है कि how will a court function with what procedure in a civil case, right? However, अब अगर आपका झगड़ा हो जाता है आपस में and let us say झगड़ा हो जाता है या आपस में चलिए छोड़िए, let us say that there's a criminal element involved here. So let us say that this gets stolen, somebody just comes and involuntarily takes it out of my possession. That will be called as theft. And let us say that I file an FIR against this theft. The case name is going to read as Sahaj Arora versus State of Delhi NCT. Correct? Right? Delhi NCT चलिए कर देते हैं. Why? Because the crime, अच्छा खैर एक second, I didn't steal it. Let us say somebody else stole it and वो पकड़ा भी गया. Their case is going to proceed against us this, right? उस केस में तो खैर पहले वाले मेरा ही नाम आ जाता तो खैर मुझे पे ही चोरी का दाम आ जाता है. But anyway, एक second, give me 1 second. Okay, after that coffee shot. So why is the state? Why is it not Chor versus Sahaj Arora? Because this is not a private case. This is, the Chor has committed theft against the society at large. ये कब हुआ? ये कैसे हो गया? The people, those people, we had decided as a society that if any such thing were to take place, that member, by committing an offense against one of us, the offenses that are listed out in the IPC BNS, has committed against the society at large. So for example, let us say somebody commits a rape, kidnapping, abduction. It is never against one individual. In reality it is, but legally speaking it is against the state. So the state is going to come to prosecute you and remove you from society and put you in jail. Alright. Now how this entire process is going to work, you will need more procedure. You will need more procedure, and the procedure is CRPC/BNSS. Alright. It is given here. FIR कैसे होगी, कब होगी, कौन करेगा, FIR होने के बाद क्या होगा, what will the magistrate do, what will they not do, what can the police do, what can they not do, when can they arrest you, when can they arrest you without a warrant. Everything is written here. And the entire mechanism, the entire machinery, police, magistrate, courts. So in a criminal case, when it reaches a court, they will have to follow the CRPC and not the CPC. Understood hai itni si baat? So that is the procedure, alright? And the definition of the act. So for example, let us say, or the definition of the offense. So let us say that I were to entrust this to you. कि ये थोड़ा रख लो मैं आ रहा हूं, and then you ran away. That is not theft, because the section tells you that if someone entrusted their property to you, it is breach of trust. Essentially speaking, you have, essentially in real life, in colloquial language, in normal parlance, you have committed theft. However, legally speaking, you have committed criminal breach of trust. And let us say that you found this microphone somewhere in a park, somewhere on the road, and then you suddenly went to Sonu Sadarji in Gafar market and you instantly, just sold it off. You have committed criminal misappropriation, but you have not committed theft. Where is all of this written? All of this is defined in the IBC BNS. Understood? So all of this is defined, so you're going to be studying this. Then you are going to basically see what evidence can the judge saab, can the court. एक तो पहली बात, you're going to be studying what is evidence, सबूत क्या है. So for example, let us say when this chori happened, the chor was wearing a black jacket. So how is this? So Evidence Act primarily asks whether this fact can enter the courtroom or not, whether it's relevant to the discussion at hand or not. So Evidence Act is going to tell you, or the BSA, Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam, is now going to tell you what is evidence, what all can be accepted as evidence, what all can not be accepted as evidence. And always when you're reading a statute, so you're going to be reading about hearsay, you're going to be reading conduct is relevant in terms of evidence. Always ask why. Why have they made conduct relevant? Don't just rote learn it, because उसमें कोई मजा नहीं है, उसमें जिंदगी में आगे कोई फायदा नहीं आएगा. Always ask why have they written conduct is relevant? You think about it as a judge. If let us say after the chori, he is seen, the thief is basically seen running away from the premises and a CCTV camera basically catches him running away. Should that be allowed in a courtroom? Should that information be allowed in a courtroom? Will you be considering that yes, that he ran away from the scene, that shows me, if it is proved that the CCTV footages of that time, that occurrence, etc., that the police is reporting to you via a file, if that shows to you or gives you a slight inclination to believe that this is the chore, because why else was he running from the premises at, let us say, 12 p.m. in the afternoon when the reported theft time is there in the FIR? That's why conduct is relevant. But let us say the Evidence Act says hearsay evidence is not allowed. What is hearsay? Kahi suni baatein. So for example, let us say that you read any क्या बोलते हैं, any post from, let us say, an absolute pathetic platform such as Reddit, and then you believe those posts. It is just hearsay, kahi suni baat, because well, it can never get confirmed, because well, वहाँ पे 10 anon account बन के लोग आपस में भी बात कर सकते हैं. Maybe your enemies, basically to destroy your reputation and work, perhaps do that. That is, hearsay evidence will never be accepted in a court unless and until you have experienced the event directly. Do you understand? Right? So that is hearsay evidence. So when they tell you in class ki why is hearsay evidence not admissible, kindly ask ki why not, right? So that is basically evidence. तो evidence के अंदर आप BSA या IEA के अंदर ये पढ़ेंगे कि evidence क्या होता है, कैसे ये किया जाता है, what all is relevant, what all can the court consider, what all can the court not consider. So for example, the thief was 23 years old. उससे क्या लेना देना? हाँ, unless and until you're trying to prove that a 23-year-old, one side is going to basically try to prove that he was a 23-year-old, etc. So that can be one fact which can be either relevant or irrelevant depending on the facts and circumstances of the case. Alright? And then basically you get back to, so these are basically the core laws. Acha. Then you have a subject such as TP, the Transfer of Property Act. Now why? Then you have then you have HMA, then you have SMA, Special Marriage Act, Hindu Marriage Act, Transfer of Property Act. तो टीपी के अंदर आप पढ़ेंगे कि भाई प्रॉपर्टी क्या होती है, पहली बात प्रॉपर्टी क्या होता है, फिर ट्रांसफर क्या होता है. सो हमेशा याद रखें, लॉ इज ऑल्सो अ फाइट ओवर words. That what does transfer mean? Transfer may mean one thing to you. Transfer may mean one thing to me. However, both of us, when it comes to property, we will need to follow the Transfer of Property Act. शादी के लिए फिर अरे शादी पे भी कानून आ गया. Yes, otherwise we'll just eat each other alive and kill, because that's primarily speaking, that's the base level animal instinct. What is the difference between animals and us? Do animals have courtrooms? Do animals have police? Do animals in their natural environment? There's no concept of justice and law there. However, in human society, there is a lot of law and a lot of justice so that we can self-regulate. Otherwise, the evil rich man is forever going to win and basically trample on your rights, right? तो अच्छा, these are all civil side. तो इनके साथ भी CPC ही चलेगी प्रोसीजर में, and then evidence is going to get coupled on if you want to decide any case relating to these, right? And then there is an act called the Specific Relief Act कि नहीं 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 मुझे पैसे वैसे नहीं चाहिए, just because you did not perform your part of the contract, you did not basically were able to deliver the property to me. I want that specific thing to be performed. So one of the most interesting subjects on the civil side you're going to be encountering is SRA. And then you're going to meet the big daddy. Achha. Big daddy is the Constitution. Let me get back to my people. So now what is the Constitution? So, well, let me draw first a show do we see India. Of course, this map is not fully correct, but you get the drift, right? यहाँ पे इसको ऐसे कर लेते हैं, right? Then you have the international borders, etc., etc. खैर, so we the people decided what sort of a country are we going to be. हमारा नेता कैसा हो, PM कौन बनेगा, कौन बन सकता है, प्रेसिडेंट कौन बनेगा, कौन बन सकता है, वाइस प्रेसिडेंट, चेयरमैन, डेप्यूटी चेयरमैन, सेंट्रल पे प्रेसिडेंट के पास कोई लॉ बनाने की अगर ताकत है, यूनियन लेवल पे which is going to be the judiciary. All of that stuff is written in this book. Why have we written this in the book? I have the Constitution ki barak, thank God. But why have we written this in this book? So that we don't fight, but we still end up fighting. कवि क्या कहना चाहता है याद है ना? कवि उपरोक्त पंक्तियों में कवि ये कहना चाहता है कि, है ना? तो इन शब्दों में कवि क्या कहना चाहता है? That कवि is the Constituent Assembly, that was again the people of India. So first and foremost, in part 1 on the Constitution, we are going to be deciding the union and territories. कि हम actually देश, ये जो टुकड़ा जो है on the piece of land on earth, हम हैं कौन कौन? Then who is hum? Who can be a citizen of India? That is in part 2. Then in part 3 they are going to tell us कि हमने जो अपना प्राइमरी नेता यहाँ पे यूनियन पे बिठाया था और यहाँ पे जो स्टेट्स में CM के तौर पे बिठाया था और इनके बीच का जो लिंक है, जो गवर्नर है, ये है ही इसीलिए क्योंकि ये कॉन्स्टी में दिया हुआ है. Okay, but when did I agree to this book? By being born here. Okay, no, I didn't agree. No, you agreed. Because your parents agreed, then your forefathers agreed, everyone agreed. So you have to follow the law of the land that you are in, right? And then this part 3 के अंदर हमने कहा कि ये जो states जो हमने जो बनाए फेडरलिज्म वाले, जो state ये जो आपकी जो local जो state government है and then the union government, what are they going to be doing? They must not do certain things. They must not violate certain rights of yours. That is part 3, the fundamental rights. And then they must keep certain things in mind while making laws. So they need to, for example, keep equal pay in mind. They need to keep the uniform civil code in mind. They need to protect the forests. That they have to keep in mind while making any law that they do. And what is the law that hum log are going to follow? That is how it is ordained. So all of this is written in part 3 fundamental rights. Then basically the thing that they keep in mind is part 4 DPSPs. Then बहुत right हो गए, so part 4A becomes fundamental duties, and then part 5 basically becomes the union. Then you enter into polity, starts from president, basically goes on till CAG, and then that is the executive. ये सब बोल क्यों पा रहा हूँ मैं? Because महाराज इस किताब में लिखा है, इस किताब में लिखा है, इस फोन में इतना टैक्स कैसे है? क्योंकि किसी किताब में लिख दिया है कि जी ये वाले फोन्स पे certain range, price range features, they're going to be charging this much tax. So that also is law. So all of this is written somewhere. So always ask, एक तो पहली बात ये लिखा क्यों है? And then always ask कि ये इसकी एक तो जरूरत क्या पड़ गई होगी, लिखा क्यों है, इसकी जरूरत क्या है, और लिखा कहाँ है, अगर कोई फैक्चुअल पे हमें बात करनी है. तीसरा अच्छा या और एडिशनल पॉइंट, तीसरे की तो क्रोनोलॉजी खत्म हो गई. सो दिस इज आई जस्ट गिवन यू अ रफ थिंग अबाउट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, राइट. सो प्रोसीजरल वाले लॉज को प्रोसीजरल लॉज कहते हैं. एनीथिंग दैट डिफाइंस एनीथिंग इज सब्सटैंटिव लॉ बेसिकली, और आईपीसी, बीएनएस एटसेट्रा. Then you have certain adjective laws, for example SRA, some people call it also procedural, but those distinctions are usually academic discussions. So now what does the court do? The court, there is going to be a judge sahab that has this book, of course not merely the constitution, but n number of barracks that exist, but depending on the kind of court it is going to be referring to that book. It is going to apply the facts to the words in this book, and one lawyer is going to argue that my property is not quote unquote property, therefore it falls outside of the Transfer of Property Act. One lawyer is going to argue that my client is not the state, so therefore state is defined in Article 12, the part 3 does not apply to us. So they want to fight over words, and who is going to decide on this interpretation? So the courtroom is going to basically apply the facts to the book. And ये book किसने बनाई? So your parents are not the Supreme Court, they are the legislature, they are the parliament, they make new laws all the time. Your principal was the Supreme Court, was it not? Correct. So that is how you must think about law as you enter into law school, because well, this is your life, and law is primarily humanities. Why? Because well, we are talking about managing a lot of human beings. Because if criminal law was not there, you kill one of my family, I'll kill 2 of your family, you'll kill 4 of my family, I'll kill 8 of your family. To prevent that, we have law. Okay, no, the state is going to better prosecute, the courtroom is going to come in, courtroom by TLOI of course, is going to come in and then basically prosecute you. And so you do not know, do you rely on the courts, the legal system and the justice, so that we do not end up killing each other, ताकि विवाद कम हो, dispute कम हो. Then you have the alternate dispute resolution mechanisms, the ADRs of the world, the arbitrations, the लोक अदालत, कि कोर्ट जाना ना पड़े, कोर्ट से पहले ही समझौता हो जाए, राइट. सब कुछ ये आप पढ़ने जा रहे हैं कि हम आपस में एक सिस्टम क्यों ना बना के रखें जिससे हमारी आपस में लड़ाई बहुत कम. उस पूरे सिस्टम को चलाएंगे कैसे, वो सब प्रोसीजर में लिखा हुआ है. उसमें सबूत कैसे देंगे, वो सब एविडेंस में लिखा हुआ है. सरकारें कैसी हैं, क्या हैं, क्यों हैं, और क्या कर सकती हैं, क्या नहीं कर सकती हैं, और आपके मौलिक अधिकार, the fundamental rights, what are they? That all is written in the Constitution of India. So everything mostly is written except for certain branches of law. So for example, but let us say that you were sitting in your law school and the tube light falls on your head. What do you want to do if you want to claim damages? Such a situation is not written anywhere in any book. It falls under the case of torts. And that's how you think about various subjects. So whenever you encounter this subject, first of all, कि हम ये पढ़ क्यों रहे हैं, ये सेक्शन ऐसे लिखा क्यों गया, ये सेक्शन क्यों ऐसे लिखने की जरूरत क्या पड़ी, ये सेक्शन या ये किताब जो लिखी गई है ऐसा क्या है हम इंसानों में, that we need to regulate ourselves as a society using these statutes. And then if the case, that means there is a difference of opinion, there is basically a dispute that is going on. If it reaches the courtroom, how is the courtroom going to function? What is the judge sahab? What can the judge sahab do? What can they not do? Right? And why have we prevented him or her to not do something? And then why have we enabled them to do something? That is how we think about law, right? So we have, I'll wrap this up. This was my first introductory lecture on law. Based on your comments that I'm going to be receiving on this video, and if you've understood this, if you like this, well then you please do leave a comment, because feedback really tells me as to where to take this. I'm going to be compiling all the newer lectures that I've shot recently. So I'm creating one giant playlist called Law School by TLOI, and I'm going to be putting out the recent lectures, not the older ones. So we have subject specific playlists, but I want to make this one a giant playlist. Then I'll introduce them in the subject specific playlists as well. But I'll make one giant playlist called Law School by TLOI. So the first subject that I wish to cover out, I have one in mind. If I receive a favorable number of comments, perhaps I'll start out with that subject. And I want to reshoot a lot of my own previous work to help you, to enable you to clear law school. And that has always been an endeavor, a dream project of mine. That's why I started this. This was never coaching to begin with. This was always this channel which enabled you to study law. And well, over the years, we have had thousands upon thousands who have used these resources. But it's time, I believe, for an upgrade. Use these resources, and our lawyers and our judges, and I want to upgrade this into my present teaching style. Whatever lectures that are already in my present teaching style will basically pop up in this playlist, and I won't repeat that. So we start out, and I'll do 3 lectures per week, and usually we will post them on Monday, Tuesdays and Wednesdays around 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. That schedule we'll post on the community post and basically let you know as to when all these uploads will be coming in. I have a target to complete the ICA, the Indian Contract Act, and BNS by this December. If you are facing any particular problem with any particular subject in your semester, for example, you let me know, and if it is feasible, I will try to shoot lectures there. So kindly please do explore the playlists of this channel. Kindly do explore the playlist Law School by TLOI. And of course, TLOI stands for Teaching Laws of India. I wish you all the very best in your journey in your law school. May God bless you with more and more knowledge and wisdom. May you never get it back. May you be a fantastic lawyer. And yeah, let's commence this journey. And even though it may be very arduous to fully shoot this, however, it's my commitment that I will be basically going through with it. And I wish you all the very best if you wish to tag along on this journey. Do take very, very good care of yourself, and you will ace law school. The degree and the studies, by God's grace, you keep on following whatever we keep on posting here, and then let's take it ahead. Let's walk first and then basically talk later. We will have a chat at the end of this very long journey that we are just about to undertake and start. Wishing you folks all the very best. Do take very good care of yourself. May God bless you. Bye.